Be sure your pets are a treat this Halloween and not a trick or a trip to the clinic. Tales from the Road is next.
A trick or a treat, but the worst trick would be that trip to the clinic.
Yes, it would.
Yes. Now, why is it? We love to have the family times at Halloween or at Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, and but pets maybe not so much. They want to get into the spirit of things.
Well, I think everybody should be able to get into the spirit of things, but we need to do so appropriately so that you get to stay in the spirit of things and not have to end your day early with a trip to the clinic or something.
Okay. Well, it's kind of stressful because you've got a lot of relatives, maybe the kid that your pet hasn't seen and so forth, but lots of food.
Lots of food and lots of really awesome, rich food. So we need to take into mind a couple of things. Certainly moderation in all things, but, certain foods for pets really need to have a zero tolerance. And certainly around Halloween, the first thing that we think about is going to be candy. And it's going to be, specifically chocolates are going to be the main issue there. Anything with raisins and grapes in it. Also, a lot of people will use those little boxes of raisins instead of candy to hand out. Maybe have chocolate-covered raisins, something like that, which would be like your big double whammy. But the biggest thing's chocolate is important because it has in it, here's your cool doctor words of the day, methylxanthines and theobromides. And those are the chemicals in chocolate that make it so wonderful. And basically will turn a dog into looking like they've had too much cappuccino. And that's what happens with a mild poisoning, but we can get dogs eat enough chocolate that actually turns them then into seizures and into life-threatening things. So ixnay on the chocolate. Grapes and raisins are toxic to kidneys and will kill kidneys quite effectively for some dogs. So need to be careful mostly of those. And really, like I said, in general, when we all get together for parties, we all, it's always fun to toss something down to the dog or the cat. And we just need to really try to avoid that because, again, things that they're not used to eating will probably end up with a pretty ripping GI event. So we don't want any Freddy Krueger things going on.
Yeah, exactly. And you could see that as people are enjoying the festivities and so forth, it's so easy. You flip a popcorn to the dog and he catches it, and that's funny.
And it's fun.
And then, in the moose tracks, you've got little bits of chocolate and things that kind of, it's no longer popcorn that you're that you're tossing up.
Right, and then it's other things. And then when the party is all over, then, we get a case of garbage gut because they go rooting through the garbage can and they're like, woo, jackpot. So, yeah.
So what about the environment? Because there are strange people or people that are strange to the dog. Dogs either never seen or seldom sees. Right. And how do you guard against some of the behavioral things that can occur?
Right. Well, when we have our pets who are we're working on making them very well socialized and that type of thing. Certainly to have some people at the door, to have company over, hopefully is viewed as, again, another jackpot. Like, woohoo, look at all the people who can love on me now. But for pets who are not socialized, not used to having traffic through the house or that kind of thing, or the doorbell ringing incessantly for 2 hours, can just kind of put them over the edge from an anxiety standpoint, and they get really stressed out. So our 4-footed doorbells, it's nice. The kids ring the doorbell and at the door, and then it scares the kids, and it's a big mess. So if you've got one of those early detection alarm systems where the dogs just go nuts when the doorbell rings, might be a good night to either have them in another part of the house or even maybe do a daycare or boarding type situation for them that night. And really, it's much calmer for everybody. The other thing that we have to remember too is this is the time of year for practical jokers, and black cats have a hard week coming up. They really do. There is truth to that. People will go out and mess with those guys, dogs, anybody. And so if you have pets that are normally outside, I would recommend going ahead and keeping them inside during that time. Cats, we don't want to forget about the cats. We've been talking about dogs, but cats, we've talked about on other shows, are very routine, very routine and driven, and they don't do change well. And so when we have all of this hullabaloo going on, it can be a little stressful. We have seen cats who have had some litter box issues, and they'll go outside the litter box because they're kind of stressed out about all that. So we need to remember those guys. And for the costumes, whenever Halloween falls on a work day at the clinic, we all like to dress up a little bit and everything, but you have to be careful because dogs and cats don't make the same associations that we do. And, I know that the cow that just walked in the door is really Courtney or whatever, but we were talking about favorite costumes earlier. But the thing we have to remember is that is a completely different being from anyone that they have ever seen or recognized. And so, when we have someone who walks in who's dressed like Medusa, and then the dog goes, whoa! They really freaks them out. And even kids' costumes, they're wonderful, they're creative, they're children, but they can really freak them out. So we need to remember to socialize to all kinds of things and all kinds of objects and colors
and I
and
think
shapes.
if you think about how calm your children are when they're trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
Not only do they look strange, but they're very animated.
They're running and screaming.
They're doing strange things.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of set up for the animal. If your dog, back to dogs, are excitable when the door is answered and so forth, put them in a crate. Is that something that you'd recommend, or drape a blanket over it, or
potentially, as depending on where the crate is. Like in our house, the crate is in the room next to the door, and so that doesn't really help anything. So for Halloween night, I'll actually probably go ahead and leave Gunner at the clinic because he is my 4-footed doorbell. And he sounds like he's 80 pounds when he barks. And so, so we're going to let him de-stress and be calm for Halloween. But yeah.
So the costumes, I didn't realize it's a $400 million business of pet,
it's a big deal.
Pet costumes.
Yes,
and
pet costumes as well.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about those yet.
Yeah. What are some of the things to consider when you decide to dress up your pug as an ice cream cone?
Right. And there are some hysterical pet costumes. I mean, people get so creative on these things. But let's remember to have some common sense about them. Kind of take the same tack as you would with maybe putting a costume on a toddler or an infant, which is, obviously we don't want anything tight around the neck. We don't want anything kind of streaming down off of them. And nothing tight around the legs either. We don't want to cut off circulation down around there. We need to also have unobstructed view for them and unobstructed airway. So that's where you don't see a lot of masks for dogs and cats. And also, please don't forget the plumbing. Okay, it seems a little odd to say, but please don't forget where they pee. Because we see a lot of really great costumes, and we forget we're putting them on a boy dog or whatever. And so, just remember the plumbing.
So it's not one size fits all.
No, and it's not gender neutral sometimes either. So placement of things is important. And also just remember your pet's comfort level. Yeah. Because again, this is something very strange to them unless they're used to having a wardrobe, which some animals have a lot of jackets and things. But unless they're used to having something on them like that, it can be very disconcerting for them. Yeah. So just get them used to it.
Any final words on holidays and pets?
Biggest thing is, besides using some of these common sense things, is to just remember to also have a plan of action. So if something happens, especially if you're, on the road or if you're traveling to someone else's home where, you're not in contact with your normal veterinarian, make sure you have a plan of attack in case something does go wrong. And
don't forget that belt can serve as a muzzle.
Yes, it can.
If that animal gets out of control, you have a way.
You have a way to help. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to be having a lot of fun with the costumes. Yeah. Pinterest. Tales from the Road has a Pinterest board on RVNN's Pinterest, so make sure you take a look there. Don't forget to circle us on Google+, give us a thumbs up there on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. In fact, if you're on Twitter, if you use the hashtag #TFTR, that's how you can send questions, comments to Dr. Jill here.
Yes, and I would really encourage everyone to go ahead and do this, because one of our episodes coming up, since we're talking about holidays, is about Thanksgiving, and I would like I would love to, need to hear your stories about either experiences that have happened or ways that you are thankful for your pets.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, thanks very much for joining us here on Tales from the Road, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, Gabe, want to go for a walk? Gabe? Gabe? Gabe?
Hey, buddy, you lost? Hold on.
If your pet is the adventuresome type, be sure he's connected to PetHub. A quick scan using any smartphone shares your pet's vital information so that even his wildest escapades have a happy ending. PetHub, reuniting pets with their families.
Come on, Gabe, let's go home.